My name is Rob Thacker. I'm the music director here at St. John's. For those of you that don't know, what a lovely, beautiful day today. Please rise and embody your spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Blue Boat Home, our gathering hymn for this month. 1064 in the teal hymn.
We're going to start our morning with some announcements. Please look in your order of service for some specifics. Debbie, if you could come up and give an announcement.
Good morning. The announcement I have is to make is the very first one in the order of service, except I want to make a big deal about this. We're having pictures today. Now, I feel concerned because I don't see Stan Loeb. I'm sure he's going to be here. Anyway, he's taking the pictures. He'll be over in the chapel after service, and I know that there's a discussion going on in here, but you could slip in and out, get your picture, come back in. But we have 14 new members, and they are not, yeah, it's great, it's wonderful. They're not on the picture wall, so we need to get them up there, and we're happy to have friends who are not up there. It's a good picture day, so I hope you'll take part. Thank you.
Carol?
Hi, I'm Carol Fensel, and I've been a long-term member here at St. John's. I wanted to share with you a little bit about something which you've been seeing occasionally in the e-news. It's not in today's bulletin, but 3 weeks from today, we're going to be having a joint service with all 6 UU congregations that are from around this area. So we have 6 different groups of UUs. And what's special about this service, it's a lay-led service, And so I've been coordinating with people from 6 different churches, and we've been meeting since November to get this together. So if you're interested in coming, it's going to be 3 weeks from today, May 10th, which happens to be Mother's Day. It will be at First Church, and the time is at 10:30. So we have a number of people from our choir who are going to be participating. Both Sharon Loeb and Erica have been part of the group that's planning it, and I think it's going to be a really fun time. And if you'd like to be in fellowship with many other UUs from around the city, please mark that day to come.
Thanks, Carol. A couple other things to note. After church today, we have the Meet the Moment meeting. There is childcare that will be provided, so please feel welcome to join us. And more details about that is in your order of service. And May 3rd, there's a forum, starts at 9:45. It's on electrification and the environmental need to electrify your homes and buildings. More information about all our upcoming events are in the order of service or on the slides in the social hall, on the TV. All right. I think that's all of our announcements for now. Let's see more. Oh, do you have one? Oh.
Just wanted to remind that the Cincinnati String Project group that played for us last week, or at least 2 of the people who played for us last week, they have a concert on May 3rd here in this space at 7 p.m. That's Sunday, May 3rd. So we'll get more information in all of the other methods that we just discussed as well. So.
Join me in our chalice lighting. The Unitarian Universalist value of equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Good morning. I am not Erica Strauss. She is homesick today. Nothing serious, but she didn't want to share germs. So I'm standing in for her today. My name is Melissa Rowland, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all to St. John's Unitarian Universalist Church. Each Sunday, we gather in community to seek truth, learn about love, and care for one another. As an official welcoming congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we honor and value the racial, economic, cultural, age, physical ability, sexual orientation, and gender diversity of our members, friends, and visitors. A special welcome to visitors this morning. Our service today is a little different as we'll have an opportunity to hear from 3 of our leaders about how they are meeting the moment we live in and what that means to them. I invite you to stop by the welcome table in our lobby and to join us for refreshments and conversation in our fellowship hall after the service, and stay for the Meet the Moment meeting after that. If you are new, please look for a Connect card. There's some chairs that have pouches on them. It's on the back of the chair. Just take a look around. Fill that out and turn it in to one of the ushers so that we can keep connected to you. Let us know a little bit about you. There are many great things happening at St. John's. Please review your order of service, and you may want to check out the TV in the lobby or the bulletin boards in our fellowship hall. Now, please put your cell phones in church mode, and again, warm welcome to St. John's. And we'll recite the affirmation. Oh, there it is. This is the mission of our faith: to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. That's you.
The choir, if you could please come up. Today we're singing The Peace of Wild Things. We chose it because of the theme for the month, which was wonder. And the words are by Wendell Berry, but this arrangement is actually by Malcolm Dalglish, just to correct what's in the program.
Every week, we make time in our service to ground ourselves in what we value. We celebrate and honor our joys and concerns by coming forward to place stones representing all that we carry into the sand of our shared community. If you would like a joy or concern to be read aloud, please fill out a form on the table. I think there's also forms in the seat back pockets. If you are online, please send your message through the chat and we can read them from the pulpit. We did put one last stone in the sand for all the joys and sorrows unspoken and not brought up in person. We do have a few things to read aloud. Martha McLeod says, I remember many years ago when one of our young members, Lucas Hergert, at the Wheel of Life, shared that he was about to do something that week that he hoped to be doing for the last time, that was moving out of his parents' home. Whoever was sitting next to me leaned over and said something to the effect, "There's a young man with a grasp on reality." The latest UU World magazine, Martha says she sees that Lucas Hergert has published a new book, Impassioned, a guide to progressive preaching. You can find that at the In Spirit online store. Barbara Conroy says Patrick Leadham is in UC Hospital after falling at his home in Twin Towers. Emily Hodges is sad to share the news of the death of a longtime friend, Joe Scanio, last Saturday. His wife, Cynthia, was her best friend for many years until her death in 2020. Sorry. We do have a joy. Claire Wagner says that they became grandparents this morning. Baby boy Wagner was born to Kelvin and Millie in Sydney, Australia. He is gorgeous, and he shares his birthday with his Uncle Will and his second cousin. And we do have some sad news to share.
Many of you read an email this week about the passing of Karen Miller, but we want you to hear about how wonderful she was as well. It is with deep sorrow that we announce the passing of our longtime and much-loved member, Karen Miller, after a nearly 10-year battle with multiple system atrophy, MSA. She died Monday, April 13th. Karen died while being held in the arms of her loving husband, Frank Meyer, also a member. She was the epitome of someone living out our UU values. She held various leadership positions at St. John's, including board president, and was a longtime member of the RE committee. Karen was a caring and passionate advocate for our youth, serving as YRUU advisor and coming-of-age mentor for many years. She offered our youth the kindness and empathy they needed, and coupled that with a great sense of humor and a whole lot of fun. Church was never work for Karen. She fully embraced life at St. John's, and in addition to her leadership positions, she was very active in social groups. An avid board game enthusiast, Karen was instrumental in establishing the game nights in Crow-Pfeiffer Hall. For many years, she was game night coordinator. She enjoyed discussions with friends she became close with in her chalice groups, and ever the foodie, enjoyed many special opportunities that were church traditions, such as circle suppers and annual auction dinners as both host and guest. As Karen entered her final days of life, Frank invited Facebook friends to share their thoughts so he could read them to her. The outpouring of messages from so many St. John's members, past and present, is a beautiful testament to the kindness, compassion, enthusiasm, and creativity that she shared with our community. Karen's illness took away her ability to attend worship services over the past few years, but she never lost her love of St. John's. She will be deeply missed, but her spirit lives on. It was Karen's wish to be cremated, and a celebration of her life will be observed at a date yet to be announced. In the meantime, if you'd like to celebrate Karen's life and legacy, you are encouraged to make a donation in her honor to missionmsa.org. The largest charity sponsoring research and support of patients with this rare and devastating disease. As always, when fighting against a rare disease, every donation makes a big difference.
joys and sorrows. I would like to take this time now to encourage children to come forward. We do have a special book. It will not be on the screen, so if you want to see the pictures, you got to come up close. Oh. Surprise! Huh? Yeah, I'm gonna just read it. Yeah. Is it gonna show page by page? Yeah. Oh, okay, all right, cool. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, now you can. All right. Yes, that'd be great. This is Crocodile's Crossing. Crocodile was on his way. He was tired, scared, hopeful. Everything will be better when I'm going, he thought. But where is that? Crocodile once had a home that he loved. He had a cozy bed and good food. He had friends. He had a family. He was safe and happy. But then the trouble started. Home wasn't safe anymore. There wasn't enough food. Everything grew worse and worse. Finally, Crocodile knew he had to find a better place. He packed his red backpack. He gave his home one last look. He hugged his family and hoped he would see them again. Then he went on his way. Crocodile's journey was long and hard. He went to one place and then another. Everywhere, houses and food and clothes and words were so different from what he knew. Crocodile couldn't find a place that felt like home. He couldn't find anyone to welcome him. "You're so big. You're so green," everyone cried. "Those enormous teeth look so dangerous. Nobody wants a crocodile here. Go away." Crocodile didn't understand. His teeth were just like everyone else's back home. His backpack was nearly empty. He was so hungry, thirsty, tired, so tired. Every night he dreamed of home. Then one morning, "Good morning," said a small voice. "Do you want some tea?" Who could that be? Crocodile opened his eyes. What are all these mice up to? But tea did sound good. "Thank you," he said. "Are you hungry? We have some cheese," said the mouse. "I've never heard of cheese," said the crocodile, "but I'll try it." As time went by, Crocodile tasted more new things. He was still big, still green. His teeth were still enormous. But the mice didn't mind. After a while, neither did Crocodile. He watched and listened. He learned new skills. One day, he even helped with a rescue. "Thanks, Crocodile," the mice cheered. "Friends take care of one another," Crocodile said. Crocodile came to like this place. It began to feel more like home. He ate good food with his new friends. He had a house with a warm bed. He was safe. But something was still missing. So he worked, waited, and hoped until, at last, one day, the missing piece arrived. Look at that. It's his family. Yep. The end. Do we have food that the kids can collect for the basket? We now have a testimonial by Claire Wagner.
My husband, our church treasurer, is a retired accountant. So you will not be surprised to know that he tracks everything we spend. Not like his parents, who when they were young used a yellow notepad to mark down even packs of gum because money was tight. But he categorizes food, housing, charitable spending, etc., which I appreciate. We give to agencies supporting health research, the Free Store, voting rights organizations, civil rights groups, etc. What is long apparent is that we give the biggest chunk of our donations here to St. John's. The work we do here for social justice, immigrant support and justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, education of others and ourselves represents a community dedicated to causes we care very much about. The inspiration from services, our minister, our music, our shared voices lift me up to face another day when the degradation of democracy as we know it seems overwhelming. Services also enlighten and brighten with stories and sermons whose messages I can carry into my week. My spirituality has become better defined, contrary to the dictated beliefs of the religion of my youth. A small number of you may not know me. I've been a member for 37 years, so I am rooted. I joined long before Chris joined. We raised our kids through religious education here. I taught RE. I was board president 13 years ago. I managed the website. I co-edit the e-news with Edie. And I figured out how to stream services when COVID hit. Talk about flexible. Chris and I help at the auction, and we have had other opportunities to step up. And we are not alone. The people power here is amazing, as so many contribute time and talents to the multiple functions of an active congregation, because that's what we are. We are active. Clearly, we all believe in the good that comes into St. John's and the good that emanates from St. John's. Our services, our actions, our various outreaches. I love that members can suggest agencies to support through outreach grants, and that a thoughtful process brings in our split the plate recipients and we learn from them. Yet, without the building, the minister, the staff, the various technologies, the maintenance, the furniture, the choir music, the utilities, we couldn't do what we do. And those things are so important to us. They cost money to support our mission. In our early years, Chris and I couldn't pay that much, couldn't give that much, but we always pledged. And we've been able to increase our pledge annually. We have never wavered in our trust that this place puts our dollars to uses that support our spiritual, moral, and justice-oriented goals. St. John's represents an amalgam of societal matters that mean a lot to us, and so it makes sense to support it as we are able. I hope St. John's represents much of that for you too, and that if you haven't yet turned in your pledge, you'll first think about all the ways this congregation supports your spiritual or justice-oriented path, and that you pledge what you can so St. John's can continue to provide it. Here's what you need to know to make a quick and easy pledge. We have a special page on St. John's website with all the information and links, and there's a QR code in the order of service that will access it. The pledge team will happily answer your questions, receive your pledge, and thank you for your generosity. See Winnie, Charles, Joetta, or Adrian outside of the sanctuary after service. We do rely on members and friends to support the operational budget of our church. Today is the day we hope to conclude our rooted and flexible pledge campaign. Thank you all for your generous support of time and treasures and for being part of this terrific community.
The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together, lighting our chalice, or reciting our unison affirmation. It is a reminder that from love It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith. Our reading today, Theodore Parker and Martin Luther King Jr. by Takim Williams. The Selma to Montgomery March of 1965 occurred the year after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which did far less to improve the lives of oppressed African Americans than many of them had hoped. In King's own words at the march, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 gave Negroes some part of their rightful dignity, but without the vote, it was dignity without strength. In that light, King must have known that his 1965 audience would be more skeptical of his hopeful message. They were wondering how long it would take to achieve real change, if real change was even possible. King addressed their worries head on. Quote, "I know you are asking today, how long will it take?" End quote. He does not give an answer in his own words, and that is the genius of his climactic speech at the conclusion of the Long March to Montgomery. Though he was an eloquent speaker in his own right, Martin Luther King Jr. had studied the great ones who had come before him. Heroes of the past had shared messages of hope in the face of injustice. But perhaps most importantly, the passage of time had proven them right. Using the words of other men lifted his audience's perspective above their present frustration. He let history speak for him. How long? Not long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. How long? Not long, because you reap what you sow. King provides these quoted answers and several others, including 2 full verses and the chorus of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, with its powerful refrain, "His truth is marching on." This was a triumphant song composed at the end of the Civil War, celebrating the victory of justice. How long? Not long, because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. This particular quote paraphrases a passage from a sermon given in 1853 by the abolitionist Unitarian minister, Theodore Parker, who said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one, but my eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience, and from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice." 10 years before Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation declared the Southern slaves free, 12 years before the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the Union forever, Reverend Parker preached a message of hope for justice in general, and for the end of slavery in particular. He may not have known that the nation's bloodiest war was so far would be necessary to abolish the particular institution. But in a time when slavery was deeply entrenched in the Southern economy and the American way of life, his bold hope that things could change was validated. While slavery was replaced with the segregation and discrimination of Jim Crow was overturned. Though the words of Parker and King may sound at first like blind religious faith in the greater good or comforting lies offered to suffering people, they turned out to be supported. The weight of history is the side of justice.
I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing hymn 168, One More Step.
reflections, first by Charles, then Claire, and then Joetta.
Well, when I planned my contribution to these three talks, I didn't really think hard about the fact that the moment I'm talking about, 1966, when I graduated from college, was a moment. And what I decided to do, well, what I'm talking about is there were riots in the streets in many cities in our country. We were in the middle of a ridiculous war that was killing hundreds and thousands of Americans and Vietnamese and Laotian people. So when I came out of college, we were in this moment. We were in a major moment, 1966. So, and I kind of belittled that in what I wrote. But when I graduated from college in '66, it was certainly a meet-the-moment time. I had a hard time thinking about career choices up to that point. Much of what my college classmates did or were considering didn't seem to fit for me. I thought there was more I needed to learn beyond college and a lot more in the world to do than most jobs covered. What I kept coming back to was, how do I do my real job through the paid work available? So what did I mean by my real job? It was only faintly clear at the time, but I knew that there was something beyond what most jobs would pay me to do. I knew I had to be involved, for instance, I knew I had to be involved somehow in helping devastated low-income communities in my city and in my country in need of social and economic change efforts. I discovered Volunteers in Service to America, VISTA, a stipended federal volunteer program with 8 weeks of training at that time, 1966. And placement in domestic nonprofit community organizing and service projects. I was assigned to a storefront service center and community organizing project started by 2 progressive Roman Catholic priests. Church, state. It was completely clean, let me tell you. I mean, I was not asked to do church work. I was invited to come, which was amazing, to come and help in a washing of the feet ceremony they did. They said, Charles, on your own time, would you? And so that was the context. But Brian and John Carvelis, the 2 priests, had started this storefront community service center, and that's where I was placed. But it meant some tenant organizing, working with parents whose school had leaks in the roof, and all that kind of work that many people were engaged in at the time, and there was funding to do it, unlike today. Years later, when I visited Brian and John Carvelis, the 2 priests, they had moved out of the rectory where they had lived, the pastor before them had lived, because it was filled with El Salvadoran refugees. They had moved into an apartment in the neighborhood they were working in with tenants and other people in the community. Not typical church work. I followed that work for 3 years, working for the City of New York as an advocate planner, helping community-based local groups develop plans and funding proposals, HUD proposals, for decentralized community service centers. The model then was, if you got to see your caseworker for welfare, you're 45 minutes to an hour and a half on the subway to get there. So it was an attempt to build multi-service centers out in the communities and put together a battery of programs to do that. As current context, by the way, the federal budget eliminated the successor to AmeriCorps, the Corporation for National and Community Service, which included VISTA. That was eliminated in fiscal year 2026. Not a big surprise. This period of work cemented my understanding. I come out of college, hell is breaking loose. It was a moment, and I felt that push. What are you going to do? But it cemented my understanding that poverty and exploitation were deadly economic and social forces, and it made it clear that I had to keep engaged somehow, whether as a volunteer or an employee, in working against those social and economic harms. In my family context at the time, my oldest brother had served during that period 2 years in the Vietnam War as part of his 22 years of service in the Army. My dad was a lifelong Republican, and he took me to hear Eugene McCarthy speak at the Red Sox Stadium. So you can see that I grew up in a family that was capable of holding a variety of pathways in their heart. He was a terrific guy, and also an affectionate dad. They all had their own commitment to tolerance and understood that a healthy country needs all of us. My parents had many friends and compatriots they worked with in the Boston area from diverse national, racial, and cultural backgrounds. In our Boston area context, it was clear in family dinner table conversations and our family's daily life that we as a white family had to face and oppose the white supremacy and intolerance flowing freely around the world. Not that we knew very clearly at the time how to do that. But we knew we had to make bold choices to oppose racial and economic oppression, to engage with others in shared efforts across national, cultural, and ethnic boundaries. So my first job after college was meeting the moment that way. From the late 60s and my volunteer work, work for economic and social, initially in VISTA, but then in volunteer work, work for economic and social justice were what I knew as my true vocation. And often I needed it. I was a cabinet maker for many years. 15 years was my longest job held. It paid the rent while I did the other work. That was how I understood my economic life. I was also committed to volunteer work for my union. Luckily, the cabinet shop was a rare union cabinet shop, Carpenters Industrial side, Carpenters Union. But there was also lots of work that was my work. LGBTQ organizations. I was an ally and in a men's group with a lot of gay men. Eugene, Oregon had a very powerful women's community. Women-led independent food warehouse that drove trucks all over the western half of the country. But I worked on social and economic justice programs, progressive ballot measures, you name it, what we've all had to step up for over the decades. So all of it was as much a part of my vocation in the world as any of my paid jobs. And this is why I feel at home at St. John's Church, because I am surrounded and supported by a community of people, each in their own way, committed to social and economic justice. Thank you for being that home.
Hi again. I have been a volunteer in some capacity since elementary school. Maybe it was the good example of my parents. And I have always had, I think many kids do, this sense of fairness, right? That's not fair. That impelled me to help whenever and wherever I could. In meeting the moment of my family when our sons were young, it meant 13 years on a PTA board, 13 years teaching RE here, and 5 years as a Cub Scout leader. All those roles supported learning and opportunities for our children, but also for others. In recent years, beyond my church volunteerism, two momentous areas where I have spent considerable time and energy are quite topical: immigration support and voter empowerment. Can you say illegal detentions and gerrymandering? In both areas, I have partnered with others to educate groups. Some of you will recall the Welcoming the Stranger PowerPoint slide that Linda Ford and I made, and we presented it here and at a couple of other churches. I have volunteered for the families at the Sanctuary Coalition. I am a member of Ignite Peace's Rapid Response Communications team, mostly working on messaging for other volunteers to use. I'm a longtime member of SIT, our Sanctuary and Immigration team, and I lead a small group of volunteers who take Friday turns to distribute donated food to 2 immigrant communities that we support. There are other members of the Willows Project who do a whole lot more and give much more assistance to these groups. But on our part, and I see Mike, one of our volunteers, and my husband's one of the volunteers, I don't know if Nancy and Mark are here, they're our team. We think the least we can do is feed them while they wait for their asylum cases to come to court. We also bring occasional new and used clothes and household goods, and we show them there are people who care and commit to being there regularly. I speak some Spanish, and I really like on my weeks that I can exchange translations with some of the immigrant community members. We empower some of them to be leaders on those days, and we relate to each other as people with equal value. Immigrants should have a fair chance at becoming citizens, right? In the area of voter empowerment, my involvement in fair districting jumped when I realized the pervasiveness of gerrymandering meant I was registering people to vote whose votes may not have counted depending on the district in which they lived. That hurt. That's just not who we need to be in this country. I volunteered numerous hours and days in recent years to push the Citizens Not Politicians amendment effort for a citizen-led redistricting commission in Ohio. Currently, the commission involves electeds, and the process favors the party in power. I could talk for half an hour on that. I will spare you. I was the local organizer, though. I spoke to groups, and my home, our home, was a website hub for people to pick up and drop off their petitions and to pick up signs for their yards. I drove to Columbus twice to protest. After turning in 300,000 more signatures than the required 413,000, we got the amendment on the ballot a year and a half ago, but the state ballot board wrote a misleading and false summary of the amendment, so that's all most people saw was the short thing on the ballot. Even our friends who had relatives who were aware got confused because it said it was going to guarantee gerrymandering. The injustice of that loss was widely felt. We still vote in gerrymandered districts. Some lines have been moved a little since then. But that is unfair to voters and to democracy. As with gerrymandering, I have asked myself, what can I do to support democracy when the state and national attacks are too enormous to tackle and when ignorance seems to be celebrated? I contact my legislators, like many of you, and 5 years ago, I joined the League of Women Voters of the Cincinnati area. Being a retired communicator, I restarted and chaired its communications team. I was invited to the board, and last year I was elected as president. I now have a co-chair in communications. That's still my wheelhouse. The League is a national, political yet nonpartisan group. While many of you know us through the vote411.org website and the fall printed voter guide, we do a whole lot more to advocate, educate, and empower citizens. I am involved in a lot of it locally. The League is my path to bring some political clarity to Greater Cincinnati. We speak at events, we bring voter registration and information tables when requested to high schools, churches, civic groups, etc. Gleefully, we register new voters at naturalization ceremonies. Those are wonderful events. We train volunteers inside and outside the league and remind people their vote is their voice. We also educate in social media. I have made some TikTok videos. They're very simple. I like that the league takes positions on matters of social justice also, from education funding to fair housing to a clean environment and more. I've had to admit, there's a lot beyond my reach that I wish I could fix, but I have not let that stop me from meeting the moments that unravel locally before me, and I do appreciate the communal efforts in which we all share. Thank you.
Just a second.
Okay. Hi, folks. I'm Joetta Pro, for those that don't know me, and I'm the third of the trio this morning, here to share and, we hope, inspire. So, on the eve of the Apollo 12 splashdown in November 1969, the headline in my hometown newspaper in Jefferson City, Missouri, read, "Approximately 300 persons hiked for hunger Sunday. Hike for Hunger raised money to help feed needy. Feet got weary, but spirits were high." I was 17 years old when I was tapped to be the chairman and spokesman, in the language of the day, for the first ever hunger hike in my hometown. The concept of walkers raising money with pledges based on how many miles someone walked and so forth, that was like a new idea, and we had to explain it to people. Our participants walked 20 miles, and the hunger hike was, by all accounts, a huge success. Prior to that Sunday, I had given a presentation to our county commissioners, which still sort of amazes me when I think back to it, encouraging them to initiate a new food commodities program in our county and informing them that the youth coordinators for the hunger hike had voted to give 25% of the proceeds of the hike to support food needs in Cole County, where we lived. The remainder of the funds we raised went to help children in Biafra. How many remember the terrible, brutal civil war in that part of Nigeria that was happening back then? So the other day, as I was thinking ahead to preparing this reflection, I saw a small news item about the 3 million people who are projected to lose benefits each month as a result of recent changes to SNAP food benefits. I was reminded that all these years later, food insecurity remains a major issue in our country and around the world. I came out as a lesbian in 1978. Even though I was doing other social justice work, it wasn't until 1992 that I had the courage to participate in a public LGBTQ advocacy event. It was the first ever Wichita, Kansas Pride March, held 23 years after Stonewall, but nevertheless, we were doing it, okay? I walked with a group of other queer and straight mental health professionals behind a banner that one of my friends made that proclaimed we were mental health workers for human rights, a slogan that was intended to provide me and 2 other lesbians who were there with some cover, because we all had to be closeted in order to protect our jobs and our family relationships. I was thinking about this the other day, following a planning meeting for the 3rd annual Boone County, Kentucky Pride Festival, taking place across the river where my wife Kathy and I now live. Has there been any progress? Well, yes. Kathy and I have been married for 12 years. Yeah. And And does the work for the LGBT community and equality for all people continue? Yes. Yeah. A local politician actually tried to stop our small group of citizens from having this Pride Festival. Yeah. And a Kentucky County clerk, you may have heard, went all the way to the Supreme Court last year in a well-funded effort to overturn marriage equality. So, yeah, the work continues. For me, social justice action began nearly, when I calculated it, I went, oh my gosh, nearly 60 years ago. How could that be? Fostered by my Catholic upbringing and by parents who modeled working to make their community better. My awareness and sense of obligation to act have continued to grow over those decades, encouraged by my experiences as a lesbian and my learning about how systemic oppression impacts all of us. Since 1984, my UU faith has provided the foundation for my social justice action. Today, we've been talking to you using the phrase, meeting the moment. That phrase kind of implies we are in a unique time with specific needs. And I suspect that you would all agree with that. Yeah. And yet, I'm a big fan of saying and instead of but, and yet, it seems to me that we've really always been in a moment, at least for those who are the targets of oppression. If we are honest about the social justice needs of our world, we know that it is an ongoing moment that we face. We have been here before. So I've decided that this thing we call social justice work really is a relay, not a sprint. Now, I'm curious, when I say that, how does that language feel to you? Does it feel encouraging or discouraging? Mostly encouraging. I see most people, okay, well, I will say that sometimes it feels discouraging to me. And that is because the distance of the relay, the arc that Reverend Theodore Parker and Reverend Martin Luther King spoke of is so long. But then I remind myself that with any relay, there is always the opportunity to join in, to become part of the change at any point or any place. That's what I tell those who show up when I'm a marshal at the No Kings rally, and I say, is this your first time to show up to one of these? And people say, yes. And I say, you're my favorite kind of protester. Okay, there's always room for you, no matter what. There are always others running the relay, this social justice relay, from them, I can join, I can gain strength and feel like I'm not alone, I can be uplifted. That is the reminder of the importance of community as we approach this 2026 version of the never-ending moment that we need to meet. With those words, I'll stop to say, I hope we have inspired you, and that even those who don't have 60 years of doing this work, okay, or even those who are just barely sort of edging their way toward it, will feel inspired to join the relay, to help make the world a better place. And you can start today by staying, having a light lunch, coming back here to the sanctuary, and having a good discussion with your fellow St. John's members. Thank you.
We'll sing our closing hymn, We Are a Gentle, Angry People, hymn 170. And I believe we're going to sing all 6 verses. So please rise and body your spirit.
from Birch Q. Take this as an invitation. Take this as an invitation to imagine how wide this world can be, to face the closing doors before us and move toward the opening windows in our lives. Take this as an invitation to remember a critical truth, that none of us have it all figured out, that we help one another grow and change. Take this as an invitation to cross thresholds of challenge, not on our own, not for ourselves alone, but side by side, spirits rising and expanding together. Let us go now to share our gifts and truths with each other and this world, and stay for the meeting.